Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Captain's Log. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault here today. This is Captain's Log 022723, recorded for February 27th, 2023. We're going to talk about two things today. We're going to talk about No Man's Sky, which is an older game, came out in 2016, and we're going to talk a little bit about Hogwarts Legacy and all of the fallout that occurred from the protests against it and the boycott of it. But let's start off on a positive note, kind of, with No Man's Sky. Cue up the music, and we're going to get right to it. Alright, so first off, we just had a Fractal update last week, which gave us a brand new expedition, the Utopia expedition, which was, met with mixed regards, as all things are usually with that game. I found it to be a fun expedition. It took place in one system. It was very, very quick. I got through it in just under 3.5 hours. And got all the goods for it. The prizes that you get from it, the collectibles and all that are fantastic, especially the ship, which is a completely unique ship. I've got a video detailing that ship in my No Man's Sky playlist, as well as something on the entire Fractal update. So we're not here to talk about that so much as we are to talk about the experimental branch and some of the problems that have occurred. So talking with some of the guys like Andre and Uncle Mike and Hobbit and them, we discovered some issues with the game that seemed to show up with the Fractal update. And this seems to always be the case with No Man's Sky whenever there's an update, especially a larger one. It seems like, okay, you get all this new stuff, but then there's all this stuff that's broken. And I'm not picking on No Man's Sky. This seems to be pretty common within the industry as a whole. So, looking at the experimental branch, the 222 one talks about fixing an issue that caused the ship cockpit screens to flicker, a sync buffer crash, a rare crash, an issue that could cause graphical corruption during warp. That I'm getting right now. That's one I have actually seen. And fixed an issue that prevented system language selection from working correctly and a crash when running on a Linux operating system. The 2302 reduce audio trigger strength on wrist menu in VR, so the game is now out on VR. That's one of the things that came up in the Fractal update, as well as an update for the Switch, which gave those guys some more stuff, and that was great. They fixed an issue that caused controller vibration not to function on the PS5, an issue with sky rendering on Xbox One, an issue that caused the galactic trade room on freighters to be non-interactable. I'm experiencing that one. Fixed a crash that could occur if a lobby had no owner, fixed an issue that could prevent discoveries from showing, and fixed a rare crash. It's so rare I don't know if I just had that one or not. The 24021 fixed crash on boot for machines with integrated GPUs. I think somebody mentioned, I don't remember if it was, I don't think it was my group, but somebody was talking about that, maybe it was on Twitter, where they were having that kind of an issue. Fixed an issue that could cause Expedition to get stuck in a downloading state. That sucks. Fixed a crash entering abandoned freighters. Re-enabled tessellation on the PS5. Fixed some stuttering performance issues. Fixed an issue that caused some bases around portals to no longer be aligned with the ground. I know Andre mentioned that one. Most of his bases, he said, are built near portals, so of course he's going to see that one if anybody is, if you've got all those bases near portals. So looks like they're fixing that one. Fixed an issue that caused metadata used by mods to be stripped. Fixed an issue that allowed sensitivity to be set to 0, and re-enable recoloring of base objects not associated with a base. And then there's a 25021 that fixed a crash that caused farmable plants to show incorrectly and fixed a crash when flying in atmosphere. So, or fixed a bug that caused farmable plants. So that one I also have experienced as I'm plucking my plants. And if you watch my playthrough, I don't know if I caught any footage of that, but yeah, you can't tell once you pick a plant whether or not it's been picked. You know how they usually shrink down and then they will grow in size as they get closer and closer to maturation where you can harvest them again. Well, in this case, they just stay full-grown looking, so at a glance, you can't tell if you're ready to pick your nip bud or if it's just still a little baby bud that you got to wait for. So it is what it is. That's not a game-ending bug, but it's kind of annoying because I've got a couple plants on my new playthrough that I'm doing, and I like to be able to just go out there and say, "Oh, okay, I can pick everything now." I don't like to pick one every 4 hours and one every 6 hours and all that. Quite frankly, I find the different times annoying with those things, but it is what it is on that. So, looks like all these things are being addressed. If you've had any other issues, any major bugs or crashes or anything like that, please leave a comment down below and let me know. I'm kind of curious to see if there's anything else out there. Hello Games, as you can see, it's already in the experimental branch. It'll probably be rolled out this week, and all these things will be fixed. So if you're experiencing these things and are aggravating you, I have a feeling you'll be happy soon, because that experimental branch comes out, they check things out, boom. Next thing you know, it's rolled out on PC and consoles and whatnot, and everything goes back to normal. So good for you, Hello Games, for doing that. There's also been some speculation in regards to Hello Games. Like, I know talk about a new reset of the Galaxy was kind of going around, some speculation, but that seems to be happening every time there's a release coming out. People are, oh, they're going to do a hard reset where you have to start over and introduce all these new things and, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we're talking about a game now that is been out 7 years. It came out in 2016 originally, so it's on its 7th year now, or 6th, going on to its 7th, I should say. So that's a lot of time. I mean, Dying Light supported the original game. Techland supported that for 7 years, so that was cool, but there was also some paid DLC involved with that, and some microtransactions, as you could buy different little outfits and bundles and stuff like that for, like, different skins for your character, as well as different looks for your vehicle in the following DLC. So, it is what it is. They're continuing to make money like that, whereas No Man's Sky is just doing all these updates and fixing all these things, and they're not making an extra dime on it. But you know what? They have earned the goodwill of the gaming community overall. After losing it on the initial launch of the game, they've worked very hard, and nobody can fault them for what they've done in restoring this game. Well, bringing this game to be much closer to what was originally promised, and expanding on it in so many different ways that are so good that it's just, you gotta give them credit for that. Next up, let's talk about Hogwarts Legacy, the most maligned game of 2023, at least right now, although I think Atomic Heart's catching up with everybody that's jumped on board about the anti-Russia, pro-Ukraine thing. And if any of you know me, I don't like these mass protests and boycotts, and I don't like blindly supporting movements of any sort. And I'm not a warmonger. I'm half Ukrainian myself. I hate what's going on over there, but I honestly don't want to send American soldiers over there to die. But that's a whole different discussion in the meantime. But yeah, there's been a lot of protests for Atomic Heart, but Hogwarts Legacy, woohoo! That one took a beating on the internet, where the fringe people seem to live and breathe 24/7, and the rest of the world doesn't even know they exist. So, yeah, people were protesting. They were harassing streamers that were streaming it. They were, making female streamers cry and scaring male streamers. And, even a guy like Hassan Piker, right, who wanted to do a stream for it and donate money to some kind of organization that helps people, trans people. He was afraid of being boycotted to the point that he refused to do that. And here's a guy that I don't agree with politically. I don't, but what a shame that he was unable to do that and offer that money up in support to something that his fan base and himself probably would do any other day of the week. He could have raised probably millions of dollars. I'm just speculating there, but I know his reach is far and wide. And it's a shame that he wouldn't fight back against the mob and just do it and raise that money and say, you know what, be damned, people. If you don't like it, then go somewhere else. I mean, it's not going to end his career. He would earn my respect for it, I'll tell you that. I would have been like, well, you know what, we don't agree on a lot of things, but good for you for standing up and doing that, But it is what it is. But anyway, the results of that protest and all the hate that was being spewed out there, well, it looks like Hogwarts Legacy TV shows in the works at HBO right now. And that's kind of cool, I mean, I get it. Everybody seems to be jumping in on the adaptation of video games for television right now. We had two, I believe, Resident Evil adaptations, one worse than the other, neither of them very good. We have a Last of Us one going on right now that I hear mixed things about. I tend to stay away from these things because, quite frankly, I'm not happy with the state of cinema and television for the most part anymore. It just seems to be just the same old schlock over and over again, and everything seems to be tainted with the poison of politics one way or the other, and it's a little frustrating. Just give me a great movie or a great TV show and leave all the social commentary out of it, or if you're going to put it in there, apply it with some nuance like it used to be. Like, anything, you can watch old shows from the 80s, 70s, movies and whatnot, and more recent times, and they will have political messages to them, but they will be a little more nuanced and not applied with a hammer, and it just feels like it's a hammer these days, and it's to the point of ridiculousness, and that's frustrating. But anyway, we got a Fallout show coming out too, which, I'm such a huge fan of Fallout. I do like Walter Goggins. I think Walter Goggins is pretty cool. But again, I'm going to pass on it because I don't know. I just feel like everybody's jumping on this train, and everybody just wants to make money off the gravy train of video game adaptations. But good luck, HBO. Good luck with Hogwarts Legacy. I hope it is successful. That's all I can say about it. I probably won't be along for the ride. I work full time and make film myself, as well as have this channel. I could use an extra 10 hours a day and still be behind on things. So I really don't have time to engage in all this television and all that. But I hope it works out well, and I hope it's successful. Another thing about Hogwarts Legacy, we talked about when it first came out, the developers were, very quiet about DLC. They said there was nothing planned at this time and all that. And more recently, one of them spoke up and kind of clarified things a little bit because, if you look about it, the game has done phenomenal. We'll talk about how phenomenal in a minute, but it's done well. Right from the get-go, it was leading the charts on PlayStation, Steam, and I believe it even topped Xbox's list for a brief moment there. And it sold a buttload of copies and made a fortune. So naturally, when a game does that, a developer wants to capitalize on that. Sometimes they'll go straight into sequel mode. Sometimes they'll go into DLC mode. We don't know if they've really had DLC planned or not. They said they didn't, but the clarification stated that they didn't want to rob people who do not have the game yet because of the platform they're playing on of anything, because they announced too soon what the DLC was going to be. So maybe it ties into the main story in such a way that the DLC will minorly spoil something, whatever, or change how you look at it. So, and as we all know, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox X and S series got the game back on February 10th, 7th for an early pre-order with the PlayStation. I'm not sure if it worked that way with Xbox or not, but in any case, so it's been out for a little bit, but we're still not expecting to see it for last generation consoles until, and PC of course, but we're not expecting to see it for last generation consoles until April, and then I believe it's June for the Switch. So yeah, if they had come out and announced DLC and all that so far ahead of time, and if it would have impacted the main game in one way or another, then good move on their part for not announcing it before everybody has a chance to play around a little bit. So, but you can guarantee you, if there is no DLC, that Warner Brothers is already working on a sequel for this game based off of its initial success. And just how successful was it? Well, Hogwarts Legacy sales topped 12 million in 2 weeks. 12 million in 2 weeks. That's fantastic. And remember, this is only PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox X and S series. Can you imagine what that number would be if this counted last generation consoles, including the Switch, if it counted the PS4, if it counted, the Xbox One and all that? Yikes. We might have seen another 6 million copies, making it 18, Who knows? Would the number have I don't think it would have doubled by any means, but maybe 50% more, maybe 20% more, another 2 or 3 million. Jeez, in 2 weeks. That's sick. $850 million plus earned. So yeah, Warner Brothers is not going to sleep on this franchise. They are definitely going to try to make some money on it. Now, kudos to them for not putting in microtransactions at this time. Excuse me. They offer so many customizable options for not only what you're wearing, but your wand and all that. As far as when you first create it, and then the handle that you can add to it, and all of it's earned in game. All of it's earned for free. It's not specifically grindy, or anything like that. Like some games make it, and then they offer you, like you're not grinding for, say, Hogwarts bucks, which exists outside of the in-game economy. You know how you have a lot of games that'll do that, especially live service, where you earn money outside of the game that you can go spend in a store outside of the game to buy stuff for inside of the game. Now, Fallout 76 does it with their shop. A lot of these games, Fortnite does it. A lot of these games do that. So Hogwarts, everything is you spend your $70 or whatever. If you get the deluxe edition, you're spending more, and you are getting everything that you paid for right off the bat. You're not being nickeled and dimed, nothing like that. So good for them on that. And would I have a problem spending $20 for a DLC, like if they did a Quidditch DLC? No. Would I have a problem spending a little bit more if it was a bigger DLC, something that took the story further, or gave us a new area and a new set of spells and all new enemies? Assassin's Creed Valhalla gave us the that last update, which was the Ragnarok one, right? Dawn of Ragnarok, I think it was called. And they charged a premium amount for it. They charged like $40 for it. And yeah, I got it. It was expensive, but in my opinion, for me, it was worth it. But I was a big fan of that game. I know a lot of people hated that game, but I was a big fan of the game. I just had fun playing as Ivor and then as Odin and all that, and doing all that Viking stuff and the pillaging and the taking over of regions. It was just a blast for me. I loved it, absolutely. So in any case, Hogwarts Legacy has been a monster success so far. So that whole protest thing, yeah, I don't buy into that kind of stuff, guys. If you got friends that are going down that route and trying to boycott things, try and talk them off the ledge a little bit and say, look, man, just be reasonable, right? If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. It's cool. I get it. You have your own set of morals and things that you consider right, wrong, and whatever, and your own perspective on things that were said. You can respect your friend and not agree with him, but your friend should respect you back. And if somebody wants to block you, unfollow you, unfriend you in real life over a video game, well, they really weren't a friend in the first place now, were they? So, in any case, that's it for this week. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this Captain's Log. Thank you for joining me, everybody. If you enjoyed the video at all, please leave a like on it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. In just a couple days, I've got a whole new series starting up. It's going to be a short one, about 11 episodes for Deliver Us the Moon. We did that beginning of February. This is the follow-up, Deliver Us Mars, which should be a lot of fun. I'm currently finishing up that playthrough, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Absolutely thoroughly. So, we'll see you next week. Hopefully later today with another video. I don't know. That's up to you. Until then, peace.